Thanks for joining us. Jared, back to 2022 with Bodies. I was actually a bit surprised to see this one in the cinemas here.
Yeah.
It hasn't had a lot of... it's not like it's Top Gun Maverick or anything like that.
And, to be honest, I think it's gone.
Fucking hell, we must have got real lucky there.
Well, we were in pretty early, and it was It was 4 people in our session, including us. So I'm not gonna. I don't think it's.
You don't think it's a hit?
It's not on Top Gun's hammer at this point.
But Bodies. We'll get to that. What have you been watching though?
A little bit. Still working through the Harry Potter series
How's
with
that
the
going?
kids. Look, we've watched everything bar the last 2-parter.
Right.
So we've got the last 2 movies to watch.
Are we sick of Harry Potter?
Oh, a little. I mean, it's enjoyable in parts, and I think some bits of the series are actually quite scary for the age group.
I think you've got to be a real aficionado of the Harry Potter universe.
I don't mind it, but there's just some things I question story-wise. Like, they talk about the Mary Sue characters. Well, fucking Harry Potter's right up there. Like, in terms of... We talk about Luke Skywalker being the farm boy who's got no real skills or whatever, but manages to be the one to land the impossible shot and all that sort of shit. Harry Potter's a bit like that, but there's also he never really feels in danger. There's always, even when he is actually in danger, someone just happens to be around.
Yeah.
So I find it a little testing from that perspective, but the kids are enjoying it. So. I finally got around to watching Bone Tomahawk.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it was
fucking
very
creepy
good.
as shit too.
Very good, very creepy. Love the interplay between the characters. Really surprised by Matthew Fox. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah.
Russell was typically good in that gruff Western kind of...
Is it Patrick Wilson as well?
Patrick Wilson. Yep.
Really
and
good
the
cast.
old bloke. The old bloke kind of steals the show. The guy, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy from bloody Cabin in the Woods and that sort of shit.
Oh yeah. Not Richard Jenkins, is it? Yeah, Richard Jenkins, yes.
He's quite funny.
Yeah.
Like, he just keeps spouting this shit that is, quite amusing, but then when it all comes into play, it's, like you said, it's quite brutal and quite
nasty.
It manages that kind of scary Western kind of
I really enjoyed
mix of genres pretty well. Went back to one of your favourites, Don't Breathe.
Classic.
Yeah. Look, I really like it, other than a couple of untidy aspects.
I actually said to my wife the other night, we really should watch it, because I enjoyed it. It's just that stuff at the end is just...
In terms of the home invasion stuff, it's fucking excellent.
Yeah.
And the action stuff is great. Stephen Lang is excellent.
Hey, he's excellent, yeah.
And it's really well directed. I didn't pick it up. Like, the first time around, I obviously enjoyed it and felt it was well done, but there's stuff inside the house that is really good at actually laying out where you are and what's where. So
Have you seen the
stuff's
sequel?
cool. I watched the sequel.
Is it any good?
It was okay, but it was even more outlandish. Like, a couple of things that are going on are just outlandish. It's reasonably easy to kind of...
Is it directed by the same bloke?
Points. No, but I think he had a heavy involvement, and the guy that directed it, I can't remember what he did, but he had an involvement in the first film. I can't remember whether it was like DOP or something like that. But it was okay. It was worth a watch. The other one that's consumed my time is I finally found Ginger Snaps to purchase.
Oh.
I got the trilogy. On DVD.
Yeah.
So I've watched the first and second. So first one, I remember not really liking it that much. And I was right in the wheelhouse. Like, that was when I was watching a lot of that stuff. Really liked it this time around. Like, really liked it.
Okay, what about the sequel?
The sequel is surprisingly good.
Ah, here we go.
It's not as good as the first one, and it's more sort of straight down the line. But the real winner is...
3.
No, I haven't watched 3 yet, but the real winner is Tatiana Maslany is in it.
Oh, is that the girl out of She-Hulk?
She-Hulk, and she'd been on the periphery. I barely even knew who she was when she scored She-Hulk. Like, they kept talking, she's got the role.
Because she was in...
She's a really good actress. She was in things like Orphan Black. And, no, I haven't watched it, so I'm saying she's on the periphery of the stuff that I had seen. I hadn't really seen
the shite that you are.
Yeah, the shit that I watched. She's not going anywhere
She's
near.
way on the periphery.
Her agent is
She's a
hanging
quality
up.
actress.
Her agent's hanging up before they get the second word out of the title. But yeah, so it's funny that I'm watching She-Hulk. That's the first time I've seen her, and then all of a sudden here she is. I'm like, oh shit, she was really young in this, but she's fucking excellent in the movie. So you got two really good actors in her and Emily Perkins, who surprisingly hasn't done a whole lot lately.
No,
but I think she's very good as well. So
okay.
And I just thought the movie was, like I said, it's not nowhere near in the realm of the first one, but I would certainly watch it again as an enjoyable little horror kind of entry.
Okay.
The third one I'm yet to watch, but I'll report back on that shortly.
Right.
Other than that, a little bit of TV fare, obviously keeping up on She-Hulk, so I've watched the current episodes. It's kind of fun, but I'm just sort of, at the moment, it's not blowing me away. I'm kind of just watching it out of habit rather than kind of really looking forward to it every week. House of Dragon, on the other hand, so I'm actually a couple of episodes behind on that. I'm up to episode 4, but quite enjoying that.
It's funny, I might upset some people here, but every time I think about Game of Thrones and all that stuff, I always think to myself, I really need to watch this because everyone's watched it. And then I see snippets of it and I just go, it's fucking stupid. So I walk away from it immediately.
No, I think
I'm not a fantasy guy.
Game of Thrones especially is worthwhile. Well, it's not even that. It's not even... I didn't even find Game of Thrones that steeped in the fantasy elements. It's not in the same realm as something like Lord of the Rings. It's just the human drama. It's more like the politics of it all.
So you enjoyed the sex? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, fuck, that never hurts, does it? But no, I just enjoyed the interactions between, and it's one of those shows early on, especially. It was just, you couldn't let yourself get really tied up on a character because you never knew when they were just going to get fucking killed.
Okay.
which was
I appreciate that.
I reckon you would enjoy Game of Thrones. It's, if the fantasy element is what's putting you off, then it's
every time I see a dragon I go, ugh.
Yeah, but the dragons are barely in it. I mean, this is called House of the Dragon. You see the dragons, and occasionally they're on the dragons when there's a bit of fucking action sequence going, but it's very rare. It's more interactions with people. It's more people, you know, backstabbing. I mean, if it was Survivor, you'd hear about the fucking blindsides to the blindsides every second week. But yeah, I'm quite liking it so far. Okay. And it's also, I haven't got to the point.
It is a sequel, prequel. What is it?
House of the Dragon is a prequel
to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Okay. That's everything.
That's everything.
Okay. I started the Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, which is a fucking strange title. But it's really well made.
Yep.
It's Ryan Murphy, I think.
It is.
Really, really well made. Really well acted. A guy called Evan Peters. Didn't know much about him, but he's fucking spot on.
Oh, because what? He doesn't fucking show up in the direct that you're watching either, does he?
Correct. He's too highbrow for the sort of poop I'm watching, but he's really good and has a slight resemblance to Dahmer.
Yeah.
And once they get him in with the blonde hair and the glasses and everything, he does. And he's obviously worked really hard on the accent.
Yeah.
It sounds very much like him.
I know him from the X-Men stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously the crossover now with they crossed him over into WandaVision.
Oh, did they?
So yes.
And Richard Jenkins actually in that too, as Dahmer's father.
Yep.
Not bad. Look, not for the faint of heart. I mean, even though they don't graphically showcase things,
yeah.
I mean, this guy is just... You need a fucking team to work out what was wrong with him.
Yeah.
Like, he is not a garden variety serial killer. Like,
no.
He's not a BTK or a fucking Ted Bundy or whatever.
And didn't seem to have the trauma as well. There was certain things, but not as much of like the trauma background.
No, but also,
some of this...
they had sexual interests and stuff like that, and dominating and all that stuff. But he had a swag of really weird things.
Yeah.
And this whole idea that he wanted to drill into people's heads and put fucking acid into it and turn them into like zombies that he could lay and with. Look, fuck, mate.
This is pretty much why I haven't watched it yet. Is because I know.
And by the way,
a little bit about
in a couple of weeks, Netflix is releasing Conversations with a Killer, Jeffrey Dahmer.
And I don't delve too deeply into a lot of that stuff, but I know some of the shit that he was up to, and I don't know. It's not that I don't think it's a well-made bit of work or whatever.
No.
But a lot of people's interest in it is oh, who is this guy? It's based on a true thing. I don't know who he is. I've heard a little bit about him, and I know enough of what he did to kind of think, yeah, I'm just going to give this a bit of an arm's length. And
be careful.
I don't want to jump into it.
Put it that way. Be careful. And it might even be worth, like for a lot of people, the documentary might be more in their wheelhouse because you're actually hearing from him. But quite frankly, I mean, I know my true crime.
Yeah.
And this guy's probably the worst of the worst. He's probably the worst, I think. Because just psychologically, we're talking about someone fucking so out there. It's not funny.
Yep.
Cobra Kai Season 5, knocked it over. I really feel like we should have ended it there.
Yeah,
like, look, I read something online saying that the reason for the 6th season is that they will bring back Hilary Swank. And that will tie everything together.
Well, that's about the only person left that hasn't been dragged up. So,
and it would not surprise me that she would turn up now.
Yeah.
Because it's so popular. And the fact that she's no longer... Well,
she's got time.
She's probably got time. And I'm not saying Hillary can't get work. I'm not saying that. But it was probably 10 years ago that she was, 2-time Oscar winner, making prestige products. She may not. Now they approach her.
A little deep in there.
No, but now they approach her. They say, "You interested? This is fucking the hottest show on Netflix."
Yeah.
She goes, "Yeah, of course I'm interested." So I could see her turning up, and I could see the fact that they spent some time, perhaps hammering out a deal with her, and then they'll let us know that she's going to return.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I was thinking is that that's it's the only person they've really got left to go to.
Because I feel like. Was Kreese involved in 4?
No, I don't know.
The next Karate Kid or whatever it was?
No.
Because, to me, I just can't get... And spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers. I just can't get across the fact that we're back to Kreese.
Yeah, look...
I felt like
I said to you,
ending of that last episode, the start of that last episode, was the perfect way to cap him.
As I said to you, I feel like... The only reason that it went to... And they could have done this in Season 5, I feel like. The only reason that they've brought him out again is because it's like now... What was happening this season was exactly what I expected. Everyone's united, finally. Yeah. Everyone on the side that needs to be on that side is united rather than this faction of Cobra Kai and Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do. They're all on the one side now.
Yep.
And so... It was the last thing to happen was everyone to unite against Kreese and possibly Silver. But yeah, when that was what came out at the end, I was kind of like, here we go again. I've kind of had my fill of Johnny Kreese in those first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't love the fact that that's where they're going, and I hope that this season is the last one because I feel like even though I'm feeling that way out of Season 5, I still enjoyed it. I still got even though I got exactly what I expected.
Don't get me wrong. Don't make me come off as being ungrateful to the show.
I don't need to do that. You can do that all by yourself.
I do that very well at times. I felt that. Yeah, it was still very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I raced through it.
But I feel exactly
like we're covering the same ground.
Yeah, we are. And as I said to you, I think they could have avoided that by possibly having Miguel in Mexico for a little longer.
Yeah, that A, could have been Miguel in Mexico for longer. B, put some emphasis on Tori. Like... I have real interest.
It felt like there was supposed to be.
I feel like there's real interest in Tori.
Yeah, it felt like there was supposed to be, but then it shifted
they just kept shifting away from her.
They kept going to Samantha, who I was just like...
Oh, fuck yeah. She's wet. I mean, well, she's just a drip, like her and Daniel, too much of them.
Yeah.
And they're really kind of bland.
Yes. Yeah, I hear you.
Which I feel like you steer clear a bit, you push them back into the background. But if they do bring out Hilary Swank for the final season, then I will say, okay, you've encompassed the entire film series.
It's got to be a reasonably large role, though.
Yes, that's why I'm thinking
it can't just be an Elizabeth
Shue type of cameo. But Elizabeth Shue made sense to be a cameo.
Yeah, she made sense to be a cameo. But if you're going to roll this film in and you're going to get Hilary Swank, you probably want it to be a bit larger.
So that's why I think I'm going to surmise that they hammered out a deal with her that means that, she will be there for the series, not for just one or two episodes. What else did I go to? Fucking hell. I went to the cinemas, Jared, and I saw Fall.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Just shit. Just crap.
I did hear similar things.
And as I said to Kathy I was in there with my wife, and just a couple of times I just turned to her and I said, so why are we not doing this? It's just one of those movies that's so frustrating. You're trying to create this idea of survival in what I thought was kind of a cool survival element. You're stuck up the top of this fucking tower, you can't get back down.
Yeah.
But they just constantly go away from the elements that you think you do. And they keep having this fucking vulture as kind of like this vulture swinging past to try and get you because you're dehydrated and you're dying up there and the vulture's waiting for you to cark it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Look,
it was terps.
It was always going to be tough.
Yeah.
Because it puts you, it's in the realm of something like Buried. You can't go anywhere, so you better have some interesting shit going on between the two characters.
And Jared, let me throw this at you. That sort of film, 85 minutes.
85?
No, 85. At maximum 85.
I'm thinking 75.
Yes, if you can give me 75 and just squeeze out every last drop of tension, then I'm happy.
Yep.
This went for fucking 107 minutes. And I'm just like, what a bunch of crap. You don't spend that much time there.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately there was one tense moment. So you're up on top of this massive fucking tower. It should be super tense.
Yeah.
Any minute you could slip and fall off it.
Yep.
But nah. It was just garbage.
Yeah.
And it had this ridiculous twist that involved a stupid thing we had to have at the start, involving one of the girls' husbands dying in a fall.
Yeah, right.
And then we twist to something midway through, and I'm just like, oh my God, what are we doing?
Yeah, look, I'm not rushing to see
Avoid it.
Even when I saw that, so when I saw the premise initially, I was like, I always get a little nervous about those Buried type ones.
Yep.
I've seen a couple of them, and I've seen a few of them done reasonably well.
And then others that have been done terribly.
But they require a lot. They require a lot to work.
When
I saw that, I was like, okay, that's my first concern. My second concern was, you got to give me a really good reason why these two idiots are up there.
Yeah, and it wasn't a good reason at all. Oh, look, I'm from Dangertainment.
Yeah.
And by the way, 51 weeks. Look, I'm going to spoil this. No, I'm going to be a real cunt and just spoil half of this.
No. Well, I don't.
No, just to start.
You don't spoil.
No, just to start bit. Obviously, as I said, the husband died.
Yeah.
And his wife has not climbed on anything for a year. She's been drinking piss and and wallowing for a year. Along comes Dangertainment and goes, I really like to climb this. I really need you up there. And I'm thinking, you're rusty. Yeah. You need 6 weeks minimum to get fit to get up this thing. And it's just bullshit. It's just crap.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid it. Although it may come on Amazon Prime soon. Jared, you might be.
Yeah, well, I'll check it out.
Of course you will.
And I'i'll fucking skip 10 seconds here and there. Speed things up a little bit.
It was
107 minutes.
107 minutes.
Like that is fucking criminal.
Yeah, you are robbing me of my life.
Exactly. That's so you should start a class action with the other 4 people that watched it.
You know what? She was pretty fucking packed.
Yeah, I mean, why would you want to go and watch something good?
It's like it was the only thing on. So I think people just sit rocked up. But look, avoid it at all costs. I really
whenever you say
it.
that, I'm going to watch it.
You fall into the trap every time.
Yeah.
But it was bad. And the other thing I finished with, we watched the first 2 episodes of Devil in Ohio.
Yeah.
Not bad so far. It's got a sort of an Exorcist vibe.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing.
Yeah. Good.
Not too bad so far.
Yeah.
I think it's only 6 or 8 episodes. I think. So it's a limited series.
I'm like whenever you say that, I'm like a fucking rat that's been caught in traps a number of times, but every time I walk past one, I still say,
I get caught in that bullshit too. All right. That's everything for me. Now let's have a quick up or down here. Halloween Ends, final trailer released 2 days ago. Where do you sit? Obviously directed by David Gordon Green. Jamie Lee Curtis starring. Third in the trilogy after Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
Was slightly disappointing.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on this thing?
Well, so the previous two, we were very happy with things. Now, the look of it, it all looks okay.
Exactly.
It still looks like it's going to be reasonably well directed. It's going to be nice to look at. But much like you, I believe, I had a real problem. The
opening of the trailer really sort of set a bit of a tone for me that I didn't feel like I was that keen on.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about the sewers. And I
thought it might have been a dream.
I'm more concerned about the sewers than I should be. And as I said to you, the reason I'm concerned is if you're cribbing from Halloween Resurrection, we might have some problems.
Oh, far out. No, come on. It's got to be a dream. No, it has to.
Why does it have to?
I don't know. I hope so. You know what? Remember,
if it's not a dream, can we just unpack? If
it's not a dream, then we've got a problem.
I don't think it's a dream.
He disappeared for 4 years. The trailer lets us know he's been gone for 4 years. If he's been down in the sewer, living off fucking rats and shit, I don't know if I can deal with that.
I don't know either.
It's clear that kid hasn't gone that far to get in there.
No.
So Michael could easily have left.
And why? Why has he disappeared for 4 years?
COVID.
Yeah, well, the sewer's probably not the safest place to be because you're wading through everyone's money. Bits and pieces.
You know what? If he is down, I'm going to say this right now, if he is down in the sewers with Dolph Lundgren's Punisher, I'm going to be very unhappy.
I'm going to be really unhappy.
I'm going to be saying I will not take this kind of shit.
And look,
it's like when we watch Michael Myers walk from fucking one side of the country to the other in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, he was doing that. You'd think he was doing a charity event or something. He was doing that much walking. But
yeah, exactly.
The immediate question is, okay, we've been led to believe that in this timeline that Myers was locked away until some idiot gave him his mask, and then once he got the mask back, he was just he was like the thing in It Follows. He was just coming after Laurie.
Right.
So why isn't he doing that for 4 years?
He might be tired.
Oh, fuck, he's in his 60s.
Yeah,
He's rest and recovery.
But why the sewers?
Well, that's the two major things for me. Why is he gone for 4 years, and why is he in the sewers? Because in the trailer, and I think it is just a case of kind of amusing editing, she says he's disappeared for 4 years. Then all of a sudden we get a shot of the trailer. So in your head you think, has he been in the sewers for 4 years?
Yeah, it could be a miscommunication on the trailer situation.
But even if it's not, why is he in the fucking sewers?
Also,
and he appears to be... This guy comes along... And he appears to be just kind of waiting in wait. How many? You're going to be waiting a while because people don't just come
wait
and wander
here today
past.
and hopefully someone will walk past.
Maybe 4 years ago he stood there and thought someone will sneak into the sewers and I'll kill them. It took 4 years for that to happen.
Okay, hang on a second. Also, when we talked about the Punisher being down in the sewers, we said that shit's pretty fucking toxic down there.
Yeah.
And I believe the Punisher, we were talking about how his tockler might have... if his tockler touches water, it's gone. So Michael's got some concerns, although his dick is pure evil.
Yeah, that's right. He's got no such concerns. He's bulletproof. I think a bit of bacteria is not going to hurt him too much.
Well, anyone who can live in the sewers quietly for 4 fucking years without requiring to come up for air is not human.
Yeah, look, I I'm unreasonably upset about this at this point because I could be totally wrong, but I'm just getting bad vibes from this.
No, you're not being unreasonably
my sewers. You don't need to be in the fucking sewer. There's other ways that you can stay off the radar that are above ground. In Maya's case, take your mask off and we won't be able to tell you from the 5'3" guy next to you.
Yeah, you were a fucking dead ringer for Danny DeVito. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, talking about getting lost in the crowd. You'll have no problems. There was only 2 of you and we still fucked that up.
God.
Above ground options, go and live in the sticks somewhere. You'll be fine, Michael. You don't have to suffer through wading through shit to disappear for 4 minutes.
No, but I want this answer though, Jared. Why disappear?
Yeah,
You're still after her, aren't you?
Well, that's what we were led to believe. So I don't. That's what I don't get. Is that we'd kind of. I don't know. We'd rekindled this.
I need a fucking good explanation for that.
Yeah, so do I. Otherwise, this is. If I can't get past that early in the movie, it's gonna fucking sting.
It's gonna sting you.
I mean, I didn't even get that down on the shit in Halloween Kills. It just makes me laugh more than anything. But this is going to make me upset. I'm going to be upset about it.
My concern is that each film has had that fucking thing that was just like, oh my God. Like, Dr. Sartain in the first one, but it was definitely kind of quickly gotten rid of.
Yeah, and it was really still just a side piece that we could just...
Halloween Kills, that shit was more front and centre.
Yeah. It took a large sort of 20-minute portion.
Danny DeVito in fucking Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, the fact that he was there was fucking trash and tragic. It was tragic, right? But there was some really good shit in Halloween Kills still.
Yeah.
All the flashbacks to 78 and all that stuff was really cool.
Big John and Little John.
Let's not go there. Not quite there. But you know what I mean? I'm concerned. I got big concerns.
Yeah.
And I need immediate answers when the film opens to just wipe that slate clean and say to me, listen, we've got you. We've got you covered. We know you wanted an answer for this. Here is a poorly constructed answer.
Yeah, here's a poorly constructed answer. He was on a wild goose chase. He got the address for another...
He's like the Terminator. He's wandering around looking for 6 Sarah Connors.
Yeah.
And he's murdered a half dozen Laurie Strodes and he hasn't managed to locate her.
He heard one of them was living in the sewer, which is why he's down there currently, sloshing around looking for something.
Her fixed address was occupied New York or whatever.
I'll tell you. There was a small detail that makes me.
Oh, hang on. So you've seen something in there?
I saw something in the trailer.
Okay, here we go.
He pulled a knife out of the wall, like out of a little crevice in the wall.
Yeah.
That says to me he's making a fucking. He's leaving his belongings down there. He's
what belongings?
Crevices. Well, his knife and his mask.
He hasn't got me.
But why does he need a fucking hole in the wall to store his knife?
I don't know. That's why I think it's supernatural.
Well, you said you thought it was a dream.
Yeah, well, it's a dream, but it relates to supernatural elements.
But who's the bloke that's dreaming?
The young kid, because I believe he's involved in some way about he commits a murder or something. I read the synopsis and it mentioned this kid, and I'm thinking, all right, maybe he's having a dream about it.
If he is, that's going to suck too.
But I know, but not as much as me. Michael's been living in the sewers for 4 years.
Yeah, as you said, when we saw the trailer, we thought it was a fucking... He's looking for Pennywise in there or something.
Yeah. I mean, what are we doing? Get out of there.
Yeah.
Those things are off limits. Those places are off limits.
There's a lock on that for a reason. Just
yeah. Fucking city municipal workers will tell you not to go down there.
All sorts of shit. Could be alligators down there, you don't know.
Exactly. Watch your movies and you find out there's fucking large alligators living down there, you wouldn't go down there.
No.
Alright, that's the end of that. I'm giving it a... Okay, hang on, sorry, we haven't finished that. Is it an up or a down for you? It's enough. I mean,
I'm slightly above middle. I'm up. I mean, fuck. We're going to go there first night. We're going to be having our Halloween Ends t-shirts on.
Yeah, of course. The $60.
60? Fuck. You get off light, did you? Jesus Christ. Fucking exchange rate is killing us at the moment, isn't it?
What is it? $20 to the dollar or something?
Yeah, something like that.
We getting absolutely screwed.
Absolutely
20 cents to the dollar.
We're going to be wearing the priciest t-shirts. If only, if we didn't love Fright Rags so much,
I know.
have to say no to that. But of course, when I saw the t-shirt, I'm like, shit, I'll take $80 for that.
We going Ragland, aren't we?
Yeah, Ragland. Yeah.
I'm sure my wife will be fucking very impressed when I come home with something that costs me $100 and it's just a t-shirt.
That's all right.
But then again, I just say...
That's when you say, oh yeah, it cost me 30.
Yeah, that's what I say. I got it on a special.
Yeah.
Like 15.
Got it on special for $90.
100. Okay, let's take a break. And here's the trailer for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
You guys, it's B. Why are you guys being so weird? Are you talking about me?
I'm gonna go.
Who wants to play Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
Our friend is dead.
What do you know about Greg?
Hey, nerd!
He's a Libra moon, that says a lot!
What the f*** is going on? That would be so obvious if I were the killer.
Is it you?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Bodies, Bodies, Bodies from 2022. Directed by Helena Rajan, who directed Instinct. It's produced by Ali Herting, who produced When You Finish Saving the World, and David Hinojosa, who produced First Reformed. The story was by Kristen Rupian, and the screenplay was by Sarah Delap. It stars Amanda Stenberg as Sophie, Maria Bakalova as Bea, Rachel Sennett as Alice, Pete Davidson as David, and Lee Pace as Greg. I couldn't find any budget for it, and the box office was $13 million. The original script written bears very little resemblance to the finished product. Only a few of the names are the same. It takes place during a snowstorm rather than a hurricane. Has little in the way of social satire and is much closer to a traditional slasher movie. The script was heavily rewritten.
Wouldn't have minded seeing that version too, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. All right. What's your take?
I quite enjoyed it. I think the humour is probably its best part. I think I got quite a few laughs. The idea, the construction of the idea is reasonably solid. Some really good performances. A couple of standouts.
Mm-hmm.
Thought the acting was really good. I think where it falls down is the actual horror elements are pretty light on.
Yeah.
And it's another one where it's reasonably easy to see where it's going.
Yeah.
I think we caught on at a reasonable point where things were headed. So trying to keep it kind of spoiler free, just where it ends up is...
If you're paying enough attention,
if you're paying attention, you'll figure out what's going on pretty comfortably, I would imagine.
Yeah. What would you give it?
I think I ended on a 3 because I really did enjoy it. I thought the humour was good. I got quite a few more laughs than I was anticipating. And as I said, I think that was one of the stronger points of it. The kind of satire-y elements of culture for younger age group today.
Yeah.
I thought some of that stuff was really funny, and we'll go into it. But I thought Pete Davidson especially got a few more laughs than I thought I would get out of him. So, 3 for me.
I, like you, thought the idea was solid and reasonably well constructed. I think the performances are perfectly fine. I think that it's probably above average in the acting department. But it's just another one of these ones that fucking thinks that it's smarter than it is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. The simple fact is, if you paid enough attention, you worked out what was going on.
Yeah. I think that the satire elements, they kind of got twisted up in them and really forgot to wrap it up in the story, I think.
And look, maybe this is partially about the way it's been marketed as a slasher film.
As a slasher, yeah.
And it's not a slasher film, really.
No, it's not, really.
Ultimately. And maybe that's what hurts. But you can satirise the genre, which I think they were trying to do. I do think they were actually trying to do that there. But you've got to entertain. And there are portions of it that were just fucking boring.
Yeah, there was a couple of stretches where...
I was just sitting there going, well, get on with it. Like, get on with it. And when Pete Davidson when we don't get Pete Davidson, I feel things really, really struggle.
Yeah, they fell off.
I think the film struggles once he is gone. It never kind of gets back to onto its feet. It felt like something like All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. Right? This whole idea that we're smarter than the average slasher film or whatever. We're doing something different with it. And then but what you didn't do is entertain me.
Yeah, I reckon that's a reasonable criticism.
So I gave it 2.
2?
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, I wasn't that low on it. I thought it was...
It had moments. And we did not take notes at the time.
No.
So mine's going to be pretty sort of off the cuff, just sort of throw some things out there. But the idea of the hurricane and the big house in the middle of the woods, and they're sheltering because there's a hurricane coming, and the fact that it then cuts off all your mobile phone service and everything, and traps you.
Yep.
Great idea.
Yeah.
And creates atmosphere outside.
It does, and putting it in amongst the game setting.
Yep.
Was a fun idea.
Yeah.
And it's something that would have happened in a an 80s slasher or something that was trying to go down that route. As you already mentioned, the initial script obviously was that. It was more down the line. So that idea to me is pretty solid. And I think had there been a little more paid to that side of things, with the satire and the humour, it would have worked really well.
Yes, I agree. I think it would have worked much better had they have gone that way. I think the acting is quite good. Look, Pete Davidson's never been my sort of... he's not somebody I seek out on film, but I actually found him to be by far the best actor.
Yeah, he was excellent.
He has a nice, comfortable, sort of relaxed presence about him.
Yeah.
He's quite humorous.
He was funny, but he was definitely... He was fitting the role. Really well.
And there were moments where you could see he was kind of pissed off and stuff like that, and he does perfectly fine in that. Being that he's a comedian. He's a comedian?
Yeah.
Being that he's a comedian, he still manages to sort of give us a bit more roundedness to that character and showcase that at times he was pissed off and things like that. And he does a good job with that. And I think that when he goes, I feel like we lose something.
There's definitely something missing. I mean, we're tiptoeing around it. Spoilers. You clearly know what we mean by he goes.
Yes.
But yeah, it definitely loses something after that point.
And to me, it's too early on.
Yeah.
That's how I felt personally.
Yeah. I thought the same thing too.
The rest of the actresses and that are fine.
Yep.
What's the gentleman's name? Lee Pace.
Lee Pace.
He had all the prerequisite kind of partially stowed, sort of a little bit out there type of character.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, especially when we find him. They go looking for him and they find him sleeping in what looks to be I think it's a basketball gym, and he's got this fucking weird face mask on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought all that shit was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny. As you said, the atmosphere is reasonably well done. Like taking out, extending on what you were saying about the hurricane, that obviously impacts power and things like that. So there was a couple of times where I felt like it was too dark and lit by the mobile phones, but generally I think it works pretty well to have everyone, getting the phones out, having to use them as like a torch and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That stuff works pretty well.
Yeah, agreed. The humour, there is a bit more humour than I anticipated.
Yeah.
It's not like belly laugh sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of sprinkled throughout, and I think some of the satire does actually work.
Yeah, especially the scene where the three girls are getting stuck into each other about, their lifestyles and what they're doing, and one of them's podcasting and one of them's... What was she...
Was there a lifestyle blog in there somewhere?
Yeah, there was a blog or something like that. That stuff was all funny.
Yeah.
There was a couple of scenes where that worked out really well. I got a few giggles when you're walking by and they're doing TikTok dances, and then you see Greg in the background joining them and shit like that. Exactly. Like, that stuff was funny. And I thought it was a strength of the movie.
Yes, correct. I think there was more to it when those things were happening, like you were getting something out of it. I feel once we switched to other issues, other things, it kind of goes away from that. I will say that I did kind of like some of the early going where they're accusing each other.
Yeah. Like because they initially, the transition from the game to exactly what they're doing is good.
Yes.
Yeah. And that, you know, you're working with a little bit of a kind of, I don't know, there's a little bit of the thing, a little bit of clue, a little bit of those sort of elements to it, which are pretty strong for a time.
Yes. For a period there, that actually works well. Usually, that sort of stuff I don't like, because they just start yelling at each other and you know, accusing each other. But this one takes a little bit more of the tact of, well, you were here, or you know, how long have we known you?
Yeah.
You know, even our main character, our key character that they develop, seems to come with some baggage that you don't. That puts her in the crosshairs.
Yeah, that's right. And they blend some of the humour into that.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they get into, you know, they start talking about the girl that's doing the podcast. They start telling her your podcast sucks and all that sort of stuff. And when she starts, you know, you need to build an audience.
Yeah,
that
correct.
sort of thing. That's what I'd say to you if we started accusing you. I'd say your podcast sucks.
Yeah,
you say
true.
It back to me.
Yeah, that's right. And then we'd
move on.
Yeah. Well, nothing new here.
We've already covered
no fresh ground. Let's just get on with it. So, I did think a lot of that stuff was actually okay.
Yeah.
The fact that they were accusing each other and they were sort of pointing out, you know, you've known Greg for 2 weeks, you know, or a week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's that connection between one of the girls and Pete Davidson, you know, and they've been friends, yet when she turns up, he's giving her the greasy a little bit, you know, he's kind of giving her a bit of a look. He's got the black eye and everything from all this sort of stuff. There was another person involved who essentially were kind of setting the scene that person could potentially be hovering around the place.
Yeah.
So I dug that idea that they just early on try to create a little bit of misdirection for you, which is good. I don't know. What else you got?
Speaking generally, that was most of
the general
stuff. Liked. There was particular scenes, as I said, with the 3 girls were getting stuck into each other. I thought that was funny. Couple of moments with Pete Davidson, especially when they start playing the game.
Yeah.
That's where they really start to ratchet up the tension, but while it's still funny, when they're actually playing the game and Davidson starts getting fired up, that stuff is really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, without going too much into specifics, that's pretty much the stuff that I enjoy about it.
Yeah, agreed. The dislikes. Again, too clever for your own good. Or thinking that you're too clever for your own good.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this, and I believe it was at A24 is the distributor.
Yep.
They've got a number of these type of movies where you're just like, you're kind of trying to tell us that we're idiots. You know, like, or once again, we're taking the horror genre or whatever we're taking, and we're twisting it.
I mean,
we're making it better.
I mean, we have the term elevated horror pretty much for their studio, right? They're making a lot of it. And look, they make good stuff. They do make good stuff.
I'm not saying they don't.
They do have a couple of these, but I agree to the point that I would say the film is clever, but it does let it slide when it comes to the mystery element for me, because I felt like it was pretty easy to pick.
Yeah. But just for me, I'm not a fan of that kind of trying to tell me that this is the elevated horror. The elevated horror genre doesn't sit very well with me. Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of this kind of pandering or pushing it on us and saying, yeah, but this is better. This is the better horror. But
that was exactly the problem with something like, I remember Dave Franco, was it, when he made his
the Invite or rental, the rental. That's it.
I mean, I watched that, and there was interviews where him and Alison Brie were actually saying, we love horror, but this is it, just better, basically. Not too far from their own words. And I watched it and I was like, it's not actually better.
But that's what I mean.
So I guess my issue is that I got no problem with this elevated horror. I got a little bit of a problem with the term, because I think horror's been doing that for a long time. It just didn't get credit for it for some of it. And you know, I'm not talking about necessarily the Friday the 13th and that, but there are movies that have done that for a long time that just went under the radar. But I look at something like, you know, just because I watched it the other day, Ginger Snaps was what, in the 2000s?
Yeah.
I would say that fits with elevated horror because it's dealing with real world themes.
Yeah.
Teenage girls going through you know, changes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So to me, that would fit the bill, but it never got called something like that.
Correct.
And there's you know, that's just one example that I've watched recently, but there's a bunch of shit that's been doing that stuff for years.
I guess. So when you use the term elevated horror, you start to. It better be good. Like, yeah. I always think it better be damn good then, because what you're saying to me is we're subverting expectations, we're bringing all this stuff into it, and this is going to make it better, like Dave Franco was trying to say, but it didn't. Yeah, no. Well, The Rental especially, I found that just bored me to tears, and I didn't think it was particularly clever or... Yeah. Anyway, my issue with it is, and I said this to you when we were walking out, what are we actually subverting now? Because this is the norm. Yeah. A24 and places like that are making good movies have now made this stuff the norm. Like, so which slasher are you actually subverting? Because you're going back to... I mean, the Blumhouse Halloweens are really the only thing that I can think of as a mainstream slasher at the moment. Yeah. Everything else is under the radar, and you're looking at stuff like Hatchet. Yeah. Which... itself is so far removed, so I'm like, what are we twisting now? Because Scream has been a long time ago. Would you say that was more of a thriller or a drama thriller? I would not say it was a horror film. Well, I would put it in the category of that because I didn't find it to be particularly scary or gory or any. It didn't have those slasher elements. Yeah, it wasn't going there. And again, this could be strictly a marketing cock-up. That you're marketing it as a slasher film, but it's not. Right? It was very far away from it, I felt. Yeah, very far. So my thinking is more of a drama thriller. Yeah. And even on those terms, it doesn't really fully hit those things, because it's not exactly what I call thrilling. Because at the end of the day, dramatically, it's probably dramatic. It's probably more a drama comedy. And it was more. I would frame it more in the comedy than I would in the horror or the thriller even. Because at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot to unravel other than the characters interacting with each other. Yeah. Other than their issues with each other. They're not being stalked or anything like it. You're not getting any of that kind of classic sort of slasher movie. And this is where, you know, what you're saying about being too clever for your own good, this is where I think it applies, is that the clever stuff, the dialogue and the characters kind of tearing each other down and that sort of stuff, that stuff is clever and is entertaining as hell. But it's papering over the fact that when you figure out what's going on, it doesn't take much. No. There's not much twisting and turning. Once we finally get there, we're kind of a little bit like, oh, okay. You know, it's just a little bit of a letdown almost when we got to the end. It was a bit, yeah. I felt like I couldn't really get behind the main character. Well, I guess the main pair, I guess you'd call them. Well, it feels like Maria Bakalova. Yeah. And it's funny, you know, you're trying to take her seriously. Is she the one out of Borat? She's the one out of Borat, yeah. She's Borat's daughter. Oh, man. So every time, you know, you try to take her seriously, and I just kept thinking about Rudolph Giuliani and started giggling and stuff like that. But she kind of gets lost. Yeah. In amongst all the dramas between the other characters. In fact, yeah. And she wasn't as interesting. No. Even though she kind of unravels some sort of, you know, deep-held things that she hadn't quite unravelled just yet. And also, she's another one where, you know, they're having this whole you've only known her for a few weeks. Yeah, sort of thing. I thought that we were going to get a bit more to her, but she just kind of gets lost in the people that know each other, going back and forth. There's so much going on there that there's not much going on with her, and she seems to be like, to me, she's the lead. She felt like the lead, but then her girlfriend also felt a little bit like the lead. Yeah. But then also we bring in the girl that had previously slept with her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she kind of takes up a bit of space for
That's
a while.
what I mean. Everything's going on with those people, and it's not much going on with her.
Yes.
So it's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to pick there.
Well, it certainly wasn't. It was not helpful, I don't think. When you're trying to when you're cutting around a little bit and providing them all with a little bit, just doesn't work greatly.
No. Not really.
And it didn't work in this case.
I didn't think so, no.
What else you got?
As you said, there was a couple of... Well, I think we sort of mentioned it with everything else, but the deaths and the kills and what was going on, they were just really un-slasher-like. There was no scares to be had. There was no... I think they tried to go for a few kind of jump-scare-ish things a couple of times, using the darkness and whatnot, but even that I didn't think was particularly well done. So
the thing for me is, I could have seen a slasher movie in that setting.
Totally, yeah, sure.
Played straight slasher.
Yep.
I think you would have found that there was a bit of atmosphere to mine there. And something like Scream proves that you can make a slasher movie on a template, change the genre a little bit and do a little bit with it, without foregoing the fact that you've got to entertain people.
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm coming back to the fact that I think this has probably been badly marketed. Because it's definitely not a horror movie.
No, I don't think it is.
So once you start realising we're not watching a horror movie...
And that's what I said. What are we subverting here? Because this isn't it.
Yeah. So
that was the biggest problem for me.
Yeah, agreed. I think that the problems lay in the fact that it wasn't really horror.
Yeah.
And it definitely wasn't a slasher, even though it kind of had some slasher trappings. It wasn't actually a slasher movie.
Yep. I guess the other main one, and trying to still keep it spoiler free, but where the twist at the end, I'd sort of cottoned onto it. No, I wouldn't say early.
No,
I was still kind of looking at...
Definitely over halfway before I sort of started thinking,
it was probably around the halfway mark, but then you start to... I mean, in my head, I was thinking, this is what's happened, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So...
They didn't even twist it slightly, so you're like, okay, so it was very close to what I was thinking, but...
Yeah, it was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
And as I said, it was just such a letdown.
Yeah, I felt like it was too.
Like, I felt like we had the sort of the wind knocked out of us. It was a bit like, oh, man.
And I think, a lot of the positive reviews, because I think the reviews have generally been favourable.
They have, yeah.
But a lot of the reviews I read didn't really mention that. So I was kind of thinking, were you not sort of let down by where it went? Because I felt like that was big.
Yeah.
Like... Even with some of the other issues, if the ending was a killer, I would have been recommending it to people going to check it out.
Well, I would still recommend people saw it.
Yeah, I'm still
just because
I'm still favourable.
It's not the standard, and it is slightly different, and it had some humour, and it had a little bit here and there.
It's definitely got a lot to offer. But if you stick the landing, I'm walking out of there and I'm jumping on the text messages to people I know and saying, "Hey, have you seen this yet?"
Yeah. And the problem...
I didn't do that.
The thing for me is, yes, be aware of what you're going in for.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you're going in... For slasher fanatics, you're not getting what you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that sort of movie.
I think that's part of the reason why you come out with this little bit of... Say, hang on, are you telling me what I'm watching is shit? But this is the way it should be done. Well, it's not, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I am in the camp where I would say I would have preferred to see it straight down the line if that's the alternative.
Exactly, and I think that's hard when you're a slasher fan because you have a tendency to want that stuff. Like in everything. Like you want them to pull out that whole idea and just dust it off and get it in there.
Yeah, but we've been very positive about movies that have completely twisted that stuff and done it reasonably well. I just felt like this one didn't.
It's a tightrope act, because think about the Halloween films, the recent Halloween films. You're trying to appease the fan base, but you're also trying to go in a slightly different direction.
Yeah. He's trying to talk about mob justice.
Yeah, you're trying to talk about mob justice by just going fucking, what was it? Evil Dies Tonight. And a small, tiny little man jumps off a hospital and turns into a pile of guts. And then you just get a bit of chanting about Evil Dies Tonight, and that's your mob justice. I mean...
Yeah, and it didn't, it took until he was laying in a pile of guts for people who stood face to face with Michael Myers and looked, looking at his chin.
Yeah.
Before they realised, oh, fuck, there's a 2-foot difference.
So, a midget just jumped off the hospital, did it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like getting... I know this is kind of slightly off topic, but I guess I'm saying that Halloween is trying to do that balance. It's trying to find a way to give us what we want as slasher fans, but also take Michael Myers in a slightly different direction.
Yeah.
And this is not always going to go down well.
Yeah.
Is it?
I mean, you elevate the Halloween series by poorly representing gay people in there. That's the way you do it.
Well, Big John, Little John, mate. Classics. All right, what else you got? You got anything else?
No, I think, again, speaking pretty generally on this one, I'm just trying to do it a little differently and see something fresh without necessarily picking it apart as we
would normally
might.
All right, that is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook, Thrill Me Podcast Australia, Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and on Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for details of the next film. But until then, take it easy, everyone, and we'll catch you all later. Cheers.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.